Alrighty, in our last episode, we died twice. Nuzlocke's not going so well. This time, to make everything a bit more smoother, I've randomized the ROM twice, so I have a backup ROM that I can switch to if something happens. And I have to restart. But these are the rules. Just pause if you want to read them all. I'm gonna get started. Yeah. Alrighty. Muted the audio just because I usually run this a bit fast so I can skip all the text a bit quicker of like the normal this is how you play Pokemon stuff we've all heard a million times. Or I assume if you're listening you have. If you haven't, this is maybe not the best, you know, entrance into Pokemon. Maybe. I mean, it's sort of like you want to start in like learning language 101, not language 105 or whatever. Anywho, the last run, I don't know if I said this, but hypnosis has a 60% accuracy, which means you have a 40% chance of miss, and a 40% of 40% would be 16%. So you have a 16% chance of missing two in a row, and I had an option of either trying to scratch and pray he doesn't crit, or do two hypnosis in a row, and the crit was a 6.25% chance, and I figured, okay, the crit is the lower risk, but I did have a healing item I could have used, but I wanted to save it because I did have practically no money and not a whole lot of Pokeballs either. So, made a risk, calculated risk, less than 10% chance of things going bad, and just bad luck. Whoops. Alrighty, Hydreigon, or however you say it. Ooh, Thunderous, this is real fucking good. Alright, so I think I like Thunderous better, even though his fork's weak to ice. The thing is, it's like, wait, no. Is he flying with thunder, right? Or does he have levitate? Let's look it up. Thunderous. Alright. Okay, 2x weak. And Prankster could be very, very useful. The 2x weak to ice. Not weak to electricity, is neutral. Weak to rock, 2x. Very good typing. Very good speed, very good special attack, and a decent attack. All around defenses are great. Hydrogen as a dark dragon. Interesting. Choice as well. This is a hard one. Because everything's randomized. I have no idea what gyms I'm going to be fighting. They've got levitate, so I don't have to worry about earthquake, right? Or the ground attacks. Um, Pretty good resistances, but it's weak to fighting, bug, ice, dragon, and fairy. At least in later Gen Fairy. I think this is Gen 5, so there is no fairy. Don't have to worry about that. But still, like, With good resistances, immune to ground and psychic. Ghost is not going to be a problem. Let's look at Gen 5 movesets. What do you got? Early on, I'll probably have Thunderstock for Thunderous, Astonis, and Uproar. Uproar could be really, really good early game. It has a really high base special attack, and they're both special. Thunderstock stab, obviously, same type advantage bonus, and Astonis not that useful, but you know, I have something physical. Swagger pretty soon, and eventually lots and lots of good moves like Discharge, Nasty Plot, woohoo. But the priority non-damaging moves is very useful. Um, Dragon Raids round 1 for Hydreigon could be really powerful. And he gets Tri Attack. But the problem is Dragon Raids is going to make it hard for me to damage stuff and not kill them until like probably like high teens or low 20s when you start getting stuff with around 40 HP where they can just barely survive. It means early game I can one-shot basically everything that's not immune to dragon, and no fairies, so that's not a problem. Very overpowered. Offensively, assuming Hydrogen can actually get the attack off, it's fairly fast, but there is faster stuff out there. I think the main problem I see with Hydrogen is early game I'm basically just going to one-shot everything with Dragon Rage. And it's going to make catching Pokemon a bit more difficult. Tri-Attack is going to have 80 power, and its Hydreigon is like triple evolved. Lots and lots and lots of damage. And Bite is also going to have Stab. It's going to be a while till it gets an attack without Stab that isn't Dragon Rage. This technically doesn't get Stab because it's based like a specific amount of damage. So I think early game catching Pokemon will be very difficult. I'll also have to throw balls, and I don't have the money to do that. And early game for Thundurus, I think I'm leaning towards Thundurus. Thunderstock will have Stab, but it's a lower attack, like damage, but also has Astonis, which is fairly weak. 30 base power, and it's physical, and he's more of a special attacker, even though he can do physical attacks. But also has Uproar and Stab Thundershock to do fairly decent damage, even though Thundershock's a bit on the weak side. With Stab, it'll be closer to 60 base power instead of 40. And then eventually it gets Swagger, which allows them to confuse the Pokemon and make it hurt itself. I think I'm leaning towards Thundurus just because typing in immunity is very useful, and having the ability to do like priority taunt or priority what's a good move? Maybe priority rest. Maybe like with a Chesto Berry to wake up immediately. Maybe like priority Thunder Wave, priority substitute. Like there's so many good priority stuff you could do using Prankster. Or like, you get any sleep moves? I don't think you do. I think the best you can do is like T-Wave, Thunder Wave. Party Rain Dance would be nice. If you could have something with Swift Swim. Yeah, and then Thunder has 100% accuracy in the rain, so I could do like Priority Rain Dance. Somebody uses like Muddy Water or something, hit both enemies in a dual battle, and then do like Discharge. Especially if I have like a Quagsire or like a Swampert. Yeah. Well, Priority Thunder, or not Priority, but Thunder with 100% accuracy. Stab. Party Rain Dance could be really good. I think I'm leaning toward this guy. Yes. So Thundurus is a legendary Pokemon. A bit overpowered in the early game. I mean, two of them are. But I'm also going to be running up against legendary Pokemon in random trainers. Stuff like Quagsire, which will have Shadow Tag, so I can't switch out. And I'm forced to fight with whatever Pokemon is sent out first. Run into random Groudons or Mewtwo's. Hitmonchan. Okay, I should have the advantage. Resistant to fighting attacks. Not gonna get Ice Punch for a while. Alrighty. I think this is gonna be base 60 after Stab. Will be base 100. No, 90. That's the better move. Comet Punch. Hit. Ooh. Please don't get a multi-hit Comet Punch. Okay, Revenge. I should resist this. Yes. That's so close. 1 HP. Ah, that was scary. 1 HP in a dream. So close. The resistance really paid off, and I think if I had a dark type, that's game over. Unless Dragon Rage could one shot, which it probably could, but he might be able to one shot me if it was Comet Punch with a crit. I was really question of who goes first. That's close. Cricketoon. Okay. You're not gonna have anything super effective against me, probably. Bug flying, if I remember correctly. Because I might not be remembered correctly. Let's see. Shutterstock. You super effective? Bide. Ah. Bide, I think, takes, what, 3-4 turns to take an effect? I'll be fine. Alright. No super effective. Up or we'll finish it off. Swagger. Not priority swagger. So pros and cons, confusing, but also raises their attack, so they will hurt themselves with a lot more, but they'll also hurt you a lot more if they're a physical attacker. But if they're a special attacker and they don't have any physical attack, Swagger is safe. It means if you're fighting something like a Chansey, you can confuse it, make it hurt itself, but it doesn't typically have physical attacks. It's more special based. Things like Ice Beam, Thunderbolt. A lot of people put Seismic Toss on it for, or Toxic for stall. Use them like Soft Boil or Wisp for healing. Maybe Heal Bell. Was it Heal Bell? What was it? It's some sort of status healing ability. Well, ability and also move. But activate ability you have to switch was, sometimes a problem. I'm lost in thought. I need to get through the prologue. Let's see. One of these girls' parents, right? Gonna yell at them. Not you. I say girls. You dude, you're not a dude. I don't know. Short hair, but Japan's weird. I don't mean shit. I'm a dude that has long hair, longer than hers. It looks like. So who knows? Okay, you don't want to say anything. I don't think anyone in this town gives me any items. I think it's the route and the next town. Let's see. Forget nicknames. If you want a nickname, Thunderous, put it in the comments. First come, first serve. I don't care. There's nothing that'll, get me banned or whatever. No racial slurs. Whoops, wrong button. Blah, blah, blah. Stop talking. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. It's not a speed run, but like, this is the third time doing this. I don't care. Yes, I know how to catch Pokemon. Go catch your level 2, whatever it was. Ah, Patrat. Man, the last one would have been so different if I didn't, like, hit the wrong button and kill that Groudon. Man, Groudon would have been amazing. Also, I think I misclicked and randomized base stats on accident, which is why we had such low special attack on Curlia, despite him being, a special attacker. I think the mom is the one who heals? Yes. Is it you? No, it's you, right? You want to give me a potion? Yes. And no Pokeballs yet. I'll double check. Oh, Dratini. Dratini would be great. Right, no Pokeballs. Oh, we do have Pokeballs. Okay. So this is the first encounter. You will not have Dragon Raids yet. Let's look up Dratini. Dratini. Alrighty. Shedskin, probably. Where are we? Attack is probably going to be a high stat. They're going to be super weak, probably Rapid and Leer. Alright. Aston is probably the least likely to kill you. Swagger might kill you, so often confuse them. So all Astonis and Prey, you live. Please live. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Although I'm level 7, so I can't get wrapped too much. I might have to kill Dratini if I get too low on HP. Nope. Normally, if I wasn't playing this type of, die once is game over bullshit gameplay nuzlocke, okay, good, Dratini. Alright, Dratini and a Thunderous. This is already looking good. Normally I try to level up Thunderous a bit before, you know, catching the first Pokemon, so it'd be easier to take multiple hits and not die. Isn't Panpour a starter in one of these generations that I didn't play? I feel like he was. So, many hundreds, if not thousands of hours in every other various games. Around this point in real life, I started doing other stuff. I don't have a whole lot of experience in this generation, which I think makes it more interesting because I don't know what's going to happen. I can't use past experience to be like, okay, go get this item here, go beat this trainer, or take this route. This is where the really dangerous battles are going to be. It's extra hard mode. You know what? Let's get Thunderous up a few levels before we start training Dratini. By switching. Let's see what's in the grass. See if we have to worry about any like Wobbuffets or anything that will ruin my day. So at 60 base power, and a stab electric attack will have equal power to Uproar. At 61, you beat it. So long term, that's going to have better electric attacks, maybe better special flying attacks. There aren't many special flying attacks. Right. Hmm. Let's, I'm pulling up Thunderous just to look at like what TMs and HMs in Gen 5 you can get access to. Nasty Plot could be useful. I typically prefer something that boosts speed and or a defensive stat as well as an attack stat over something like a sword dance or a nasty plot, because that way, like, unless you're using something that can outspeed everything, all the enemy needs is a faster Pokemon, and they can get in hits as a check. So, in Pokemon, you have two types of ways to counters, right? You have checks and counters. Uh, how it works is a check is something that cannot safely switch in 100% of the time on all moves, but if it does get a free switch, like let's say you have a Pokemon pass out and die, and then you switch in your check can win, but not by coming in and taking a specific attack first. So if you are two-shotted but you're faster, or even if you're one-shotted but you're faster and you can one-shot back, then you cannot come in safely because you might get an attack that will kill you. But if you do come in because you're faster and can one-shot, you can be a check. It's not a counter. A counter can switch in and still then win. Once upon a time, I did Pokemon tier counts and stuff, figuring out all the tiers in Pokemon MMO back in the day. It was fun. Lots of math. Lots of arguments over what is and isn't a legitimate counter or check, or what's uh, Uber or not. Lots of arguments over support and whether, having two Pokemon together could be Uber. It's like, hmm. So none of this stuff I can catch because if you didn't watch last episode, we're doing a nuzlocke, and a nuzlocke, via the rules, you only catch the first Pokemon. Sure. Of each area, and if you fuck it up, if they run away, that's it. Although, generally for the first region in a lot of Pokemon games, it sort of delayed the start of it until you actually get Pokeballs. Because, like, in a lot of games, like, the first generation, second generation, reboot of the second generation, you don't get Pokeballs in the starting town, you get them in the next town, or you have to go to the next town and come back. So, the first route, you will never be able to catch the first Pokemon, because you just don't have Pokeballs yet. So, in that case, people then restart it once you actually get the ability to catch Pokemon. The first Pokemon from that point on. Anyway, some Pokemon have an ability called Sound Guard, like Voltorb, so Uproar will not work. So that's something you gotta keep out, eye out for. Also, things like Roar and other sound-based attacks are just not very useful when you're hunting legendaries that use Roar and like to run away, like the legendary dogs of Gen 2. Silver, Gold, Crystal. That's probably good enough. Let's get Dratini a few levels. Let's see. Learn Twister at level 5. Thunderwave at level 10. Thunderwave is going to be very useful for catching Pokemon. And eventually, not for. Wait, no, that's the wrong generation. What is it? Gen 5? I think it's a Gen 5. Yeah, Dragon Ray is a 15. Alright. 2v2. I'm better off switching. Although, actually, Isocheck Summary. Treadkin, no special abilities. Too early to figure out IVs and EVs based off of this. Nature's probably negative defense. Let's see. Summary? What are we looking at? Prankster, okay, knew that. Special attack's pretty good. Speed, attack. Special defense is pretty low. It might have negative special defense. Nature. Let's check that. I think you see nature in this stupid game. It just won't let you do it in summary. You have to do it at the PC for some dumb reason. Anywho, Dragon Raid's at level 15, and then all of a sudden Dratini will become unstoppable, able to one-shot everything until we run into Pokemon with more than 40 HP. It will be a while. I do not like this layout because it's like you have these tiny buttons and you have a fight button that is like the entire screen other than the tiny buttons. So if you're trying to hit a tiny button, it's really easy to accidentally hit fight instead. Like, that's fight. You know what I mean? Like, very right next to Pokemon. They're not normal shapes either. So if like, oh, that's fight, not Pokemon. It's not bag. Very poor UI. Give me like square buttons. Have those buttons in fairly, predictable ways so you can figure out if I press up, down, left, or right, where am I gonna go? If I press down when I'm, on fight, does it go to the middle? Does it go left? Does it go right? It goes left and down. What? Yeah. Down. If I hit up here, does it go bag? No, it doesn't go anywhere. So it's like this. I mean, obviously this was not designed to be. It's designed to be on a DS, but like still, like the UI is not amazing. But imagine you're a kid trying to hit on this with like your finger, like touched from like early 2000s or whenever DS came out. Not that great. Very easy to fat finger and hit the wrong button here. So will resist, but it won't matter because of level. And Dratini is kind of weak. We're getting close to running out of uproars. Alrighty. So remember, one of the enemy trainers tries to fight you in the next city at some point before you get to the gyms. It'll probably be enough. Let's see. It is. Alright. Level 4. Next level you get Twister and you have a stab move and you can stop switching at other enemy Dratinis. You can one-shot him probably. Unless they're level 5 or higher and have Twister themselves. Wait, no. That's a different generation. It's level 11 is Twister. Man, Pokemon has too many generations. Wait, nope, wrong one. Pokemon. Anywho. I hope the game corner in this game, which is typically where you get Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, and Flamethrower, is like one where you can just buy the coins and you aren't forced to actually play the slots or whatever stupid game they have. Because that's a lot less interesting gameplay than running around fighting trainers, getting money, using money to buy coins to buy item. Right? That I think is more interesting than sitting at a slot machine for 20 hours playing the slots. That's, you know what I mean? Like, there is a reason some countries have banned Pokemon games for, having gambling. Like, that's not great. It's basically teasing kids it's okay to gamble. Not a fan. Thunder Wave, woo! Alright, yeah, it's probably still switch. You could win, but it does just take more time. Risk getting wrap means you can't Swiss, and if you get crit, it could be a problem. At least in some generations, rap means you can't switch. I assume it is in this generation too, but I don't know. I have not a whole lot of experience in Gen 4 or 5. Murray probably is an easy kill. Crit. Damn. Personally, I'm more of a physical than a special Dratini. Yeah, I guess it's switch. As we know from last gen, Pure Ugly can do pretty good damage. Or I think it's the first? Was it the first or the second run we got Pure Ugly? I think it was the first. And then the second run we died real early. Maybe it was the other way around. Apom. This would be an easy kill unless you have Fury Swipes, and then you might be able to do decent damage on all swipes. I can probably tank at least one. Okay, Wrap is doing basically nothing. This will take a very long time. Probably what, 2 HP damage? Okay, scratch. Probably, assuming I don't need to use Dratini to do like Fly and Waterfall and Surf and all that shit. Probably end up going Dragon Dance build. Physical attackers might even have Waterfall just because it's a good physical water attack. I think Water Dragon coverage is pretty good. You are way better base stats. 2 levels is not that big a difference, and you probably have a better damaging move than Wrap. Level 6. I hope I can find Grass Knot, because Thunder's main problem is stuff that is immune to electricity, ground, and can hit it with rock type moves, with rock and ground tend to go around together. And if you have stab rock and you're a ground type, that means your forks are weak to grass. And if you have, ground, like in general, you're at least 2x. Unless you're also like ground grass or ground fire. With pretty good coverage, with like T-Bolt and like maybe Ice Beam. Maybe a flying attack. Maybe an Nasty Plot. Hmm. Volt Switch is also kind of tempting. But I'm probably not going to end up with 2 electrical attacks. That means no discharge. But I must prefer to T-Bolt or Thunder unless I have Rain Dance or something like Kyogre to give me rain. Noctowls are evolved, higher base stats, Wrap will take too long. was easy. So I did get some crits in. Like I can see the, like you just tap in the same spot and you can move it around and hit different attacks, but it's tapping in the same spot. Which could make that easy. But that also means the other buttons are a lot harder to get to and it's a lot easier to miss. I think they probably have like one here to the left, one to the right, one to the middle, taking up the entire bottom portion of the screen. And hitting down, left, or right always goes there, and hitting up always goes to here. Or if you're here, hitting right. What, doesn't do anything? That'd be preferred. Alright. So, shed skin might get rid of paralysis eventually, but until then, means he's basically unusable. Always gonna go last. Oh, maybe not always. Originally, it quartered the Pokemon speed, and they changed it to halving in. Might have been Gen 5, might have been 6. Don't remember. And then paralysis chance was, I believe, is 1/4. So it's better than a coin flip, but still, not great. I might be wrong about that. Let's look it up. Scroll down. Paralyzing. 25% prior to Gen 6. Alright. Or Gen 6 and earlier. So Gen 7 is when they made the change to 50%. Alright. And I've never been a big fan of Gen 7s. God, shit. Like, all that, super Pokemon bullshit is kind of like a lame way to go. Because then everything is wrapped around that idea. I don't remember if you can paralyze Mareep with T-Wave. Good job, Dratini. Shed skin coming in effect. But it's only like 33% chance or something like that. A little worse than a coin flip every turn. And it doesn't come into effect immediately, it comes into effect at the end of the turn. So okay, let's swap senders. Oh, I'm getting bored. If I remember right, it's leaving the next city that starts that fight. So I might as well go a little bit farther. Or is it here is the next fight? One of those two. It might have been here. Might have been entering. Well, main problem is, because of randomizer, I have absolutely no idea what Pokemon they'll have. They won't be the same. I just know they'll be around level 7. Hopefully Sunrise can take them. But if they have some ability making it that more difficult, like let's say you're ghost type, let's say ghost grass or ghost ground, where T-Bolt ain't gonna do shit, and Uproar's not gonna do shit, I'm a bit in trouble, because Dratini has Wrap, and Wrap sucks. So I'd like to get Dratini to a point where he's actually fucking useful, or she is actually fucking useful. is a she. But that'll take a while. Does it keep running into Giardinis? Crit. God damn it. Alright, let's see if I can switch out while wrapped. Nope, you cannot. That's what I thought. It did not change it in this gen. I think at some point they did. I think. Let's see. Let's look it up. 2 to 5 turns. Different odds of how long it's gonna be. Can't switch out. Can't damage ghost. Gen 3, you can escape with runaway or smoke balls. Grip claw means it's always going to be 5 turns. Axie chains in Gen 5. Yeah, it's going to take multiple turns, and I said T-wave you to decrease the chance you can attack me back. Let's wrap. Because I can't switch. And crits could be a problem. Probably just swapped out and not stayed in. Because now you get low and I can't. I should be able to kill him here before I die to wrap. To die to wrap this turn. Later. Okay, yes, you did die to wrap. Good, good, good. Just gotta be sure to switch him out next fight if I run into another thing before healing. Knocked out, so keep decent EXP. It's evolved. And that hypnosis miss is why I didn't want to use hypnosis with Pure Ugly. Very, very common to miss with it. I just never like using that move. I always prefer something like, I'll take Sleep Powder even though it's less good, with something that's like a compoundized Pokemon, something that can make accuracy a bit better. But I prefer Spore with 100% accuracy. Hopefully I can get a Paris and use it as my cut HM slave plus Spore and False Swipe to catch stuff. Although T-Wave is more long term. Because Spore, you have to use Spore over and over and over to put it to sleep. With, I'll switch. That takes too long. With T-Wave, it is paralyzed. You just don't have to worry about it. You know what? Mareep only gives 6 fucking EXP. I'm just running for Mareeps. And other Dratinis at a level 2. Apom's level 3. I'm just gonna run from him. If it's not like something decent, like a Houndour or Noctowl, Tauros is great. If you're not gonna give decent EXP, I'll just run away. I'll get this done a little bit faster. slightly more efficient. 30 EXP to Dratini. Ooh. Like, that's like what? 3 in chains, Mareeps? Like, so much faster. Jeez. Although, if I do run into like a Ghost Crown, I still have Astonis. Even though it's like 30 base power physical, you know, not really a good move. It'll have super effective against Ghost, where Uproar won't. So with Pokemon, you'll probably get decent XP, so I won't run. Thundurus. Sure. 39. Not bad. Okay, run from Apom. Apom sucks. Ugh. Run from Dratini. Dratini gets 50 XP. Run from Rape. Plus it's level 2. Should at least be level 4. That's better. That's better. Man, I don't know if I want to go all the way to learn Dragon Rage at level 15. That might take a real long time. Twister at 11 will make it easier, though. I can at least get to 11. Yeah, run from Rapes. It's not worth it. Yeah. Gen 5 Thundurus gets Bite, so it's going to be a bit better than Astonis for dealing with Ghost. And it has a Flint's chance. Yay! Decent. It's like 30% or something. So you have a decent odds of causing a flinch. And Thundurus is really fast, like base 110 speed or something like that. So like, probably going first. Let's see. Check it out. Bite. 10% in Gen 1 was garbage. Gen 2 onward, 30% chance. Yeah. T-Bolt. Love me some Bite. Early game. That plus Paralyze is this amazing. Love me some Parahacks. This Paralyze, Flints. They just can't do anything. Take away all initiative. Tends to be lower base power moves, but if you know, fighting an opponent who can't hit back, it's kinda unfair. Mm. So I need a sword, which was really, really, really cool. Uh, it's a fake, but it's one of the better fakes I've seen. Confederate States, allegedly, but not really. And it's a mix of replica parts, probably an antique pommel, although it might be a fake. Uh, some very convincing parts. But one of the things that gave it away, besides the fact they use a mass-produced replica blade that they did things to try to remove all the markings and make it look old, but or possibly it is an older one because this replica has been around for many decades. Um, Anywho, what's interesting about it is the hilt is very complex, very fancy. Looks like something you'd actually find in period, except for how they made it wasn't accurate. What they did was they cast the hilt in multiple pieces and brazed them together, and then sanded down the joint of the brace. And brazing is essentially like soldering, right? Only instead of using a solder they use lead base, they use a brass based braze, right? The BRA, brass. Although sometimes nowadays you have silver based and various other types of metal in there. Um, and the idea of it is you essentially using a powder or like a liquid metal that you put in between two pieces of solid metal. You heat it up, usually with a blowtorch or something like that, and then it sort of melts the two pieces of metal together. And then you clean it up like you would clean like a solder joint or a weld joint. And what this is meant to, well, the reason they did it is because of how complicated the cast is. It would be very difficult to cast it in one piece in a three-dimensional object because you have a D guard going down to guard the hand as well as the part guarding the top of your hand near the blade. And it's very ornate. Lots of really thin pieces, which means those thin pieces, the molten metal has a very narrow area touching the mold where it'll cool down, and that means that if you have to pour lots of metal through that narrow area, it's going to cool too much and it's going to sort of stop flowing, and that's going to be a problem. So the solution to this is instead of doing it as a complex 3D cast, you do it as a more simple flat cast, and you pour the metal in from multiple points instead of a single point, because you always have to pour from above. And if you have a complex 3D cast, then the bottom parts, you don't have any way to get molten brass into there. But if you do a flatter cast, you can, and then you heat it up and then bend it after it's been cast. And that way you can do a flat object and bend it and get a complex 3D object, but it's all one cast, which makes it stronger than if you had brazed it. Even though some brazes can be stronger, brass brazes tend to be a little bit weaker because it introduces a failure point. Because you're assuming the braze is perfect, great. It's as strong as if it was just one brass cast. But the brass braze is often not perfect, and you can't see if it is perfect unless you cut it open and look. So, or I mean, I guess with modern tech you could X-ray it or something, or CT scan or whatever. Use modern imaging technology to take a peek. But historically, that wasn't an option. So, because this is meant to actually protect you, they want to do it as strong as possible, and they wanted to reduce failures. And the best way to do that was to do a flat guard. You have the D guard not bent, as it's a flat piece, and then that bent and connected with the pommel being a second piece that had a sort of locking mechanism, sort of lock it in place. And then they had the complexity of the guard slightly toned down, where all the bends were just not done. And then they would make the area where it bends a bit more simple, and then heat and bend it after it's been cast. And that allows you to have multiple points where you're pouring the molten metal in and solve all these issues of complexity and, getting it too cold and all that. Because you just pour in from multiple points, and if one part gets too cold, it's not too much of a problem because you don't need all the metal to flow through that one narrow part. with the replica, they didn't do this because they probably didn't know this trick because it's sort of been discontinued for a very, very long time because we sort of moved beyond using brass guards as like a defensive, armor, right? Like we're working with steel these days or other, alloys, sometimes aluminum. And like hand guards on swords and like people unless you're in like that very tiny industry that does it, you're not going to be know anything about it. And like modern day, it's all this, decorative stuff anyway. It's not like sometimes they'll use older methods to make it as if you could use the sword. They'll, spring harden the blade, and they'll use good materials and whatnot. But a lot of times it's more decorative. They'll do stainless steel because it's like the user, a lot of times don't even know, anything because they're not actually going to use the sword as a decorative object for like ceremonial purposes. But back in the day, it mattered. And the braze isn't definitive, but the braze plus because like the South wasn't very industrial. Maybe they had, they had a lot of smiths who were not swordsmiths, who were more used to like making farm tools or whatever, like more simple stuff, making weapons for the Confederates just because they just couldn't get enough swords and they had so many casualties, so many things lost in the war. It was a big problem. They imported what they could, but they also made a lot of their own stuff. There was lots of like swords made from basically cutting down shovels that were, iron and not hardened, and very messy stuff. So the fact that they use the wrong methodology isn't in itself 100% definitive, but that plus the fake blade plus the scabbard um, was really good. But the grip wasn't, and they rewired the grip using the wrong methodology and various other little things. The quality of the pommel cast and the quality of the guard cast were wildly different than the D guard cast. The pommel was not amazing, but not too. It'd be if you saw that pommel cast in the north, you'd be like, "This is a fake." But if you saw it cast in the south, you'd be like, "Okay, well, somebody not used to making swords made this, because it's not very good." But everything about it is right, other than the quality of the cast is very poor. But the quality of the cast of the guard was very good, except for the D guard, which was not as good. Which makes me think they're using either an original pommel that is actually Confederate, or because that model of pommel was adopted by many, many nations, maybe one of the South American countries, who also copied it. Like, basically, once upon a time, there was this guy named Napoleon. He sort of changed the world a bit. And while lots of people didn't like Napoleon, lots of people didn't, like what he did and all that, what they did look at is say, okay, that guy was a military genius. His country was not that military powerful before him, and he turned them into one of the most powerful countries in the world, or at least he gets credit for it. And they did some crazy shit, and people started saying, okay, if I want to build a nation that's, militarily powerful, I need to look at other military powerful nations. Which nations are powerful? France, right? They were one of the ones that people were looking at for a long, long time after Napoleon was dead. And so many, many countries copied French sword designs, and this specific model is based off of the US model 1850, sort of. And the US model 1850 is a clone of the French model 1845/55. In 45 they designed it, but with a leather scabbard. In 55 they added a steel scabbard because they're like, listen, steel is the future. And leather scabbards are cool and all, they're cheap, at least back in the day, but they were less durable, and that made lots of problems with military supply and supply chains and getting those scabbards to, say, Egypt or wherever the fuck they were going. And they just wanted something that was just last forever, and they just didn't have to worry about. That you could shoot with a gun and still use, probably. Not always, but probably. So steel went out for durability reasons, even though it was louder and it could rust and had various problems. More expensive in the short term, but in the long term, if you have to replace multiple wood and leather scabbards over the years, steel might be one steel scabbard might be cheaper. Anywho, they had a mix of steel and brass, which is not very common, except for you do see it a lot in nicer examples from the Civil War period. Normally it's all steel, not or all brass, not both. And the reason for that is you have bimetal corrosion. So if you have multiple different types of metals, they can be trading ions and create corrosion. And you could think, well, you're not going to run electricity through that scabbard, except for there's lots of low voltage electricity all over the place, like static electricity, and water, especially water with salt in it, can make that more likely to happen. And humans create sweat, which is water with salt in it, and we handle stuff and we get our sweat all over it, and that's a problem. And rain is of course a thing, and because a lot of these soldiers might be fighting near the ocean or being moved across the ocean, salt water in the air, humidity is going to be a factor, and it's just like creating problems. So that's why you don't do mixed metal water loops. Heat is also a factor that can make it more likely to happen. Various other chemicals. But it is not amazing for durability, and you're better off doing either all steel or all brass. Or doing brass coating that covers 100% of the thing, and that you have some other metal in between, usually nickel. And that can kind of prevent the problem until your coating gets damaged, and then you have the problem. But if you can keep it in good condition, theoretically, you could delay the problem forever, unless you get a scratch, which you always do. But for the lifetime of the object, of like service life, of a few years or maybe a few decades, you can sometimes avoid it if you're in peacetime. How long has this stream been going? Damn. Or recording. Maybe I'm being too careful, but I don't want to fail again so early. One more level on Dratini and he'll get Twister. And then I can take out those weaklings that I'm probably over preparing for anyway. You never know. Anywho, so a lot of modern replicas don't design the wire grips correctly. You know what? I'm level 10. Let's see how much damage Wrap does. That's not horrible. I think I should be able to 3-shot him after Wrap damage. So historically, a lot of wire is terminated by having a small hole drilled into the hilt or the grip. Uh, and a lot of times that part is hidden in the seam between the grip and the scabbard. I'm just gonna run from that. Oh, it's sorry, not scabbard. It's the hilt and the grip, or the pommel and the grip. And because you don't ever see it unless you disassemble the sword, a lot of people don't know that. And when they're trying to rewire a sword, they won't want to disassemble it, so they'll just terminate near that area, near the seam, and just put a little hole in there and then shove something in there with the wire. Like they'll put the wire in and shove something in to terminate it. And just use friction to sort of hold it in place, sometimes glue and friction. And like a really, really tiny iron nail or a piece of wood, essentially like a toothpick shoved in there, and then they cut off the extra and just hammer it in a bit more. And the problem with that is A, it's visible, right? But B, it's not historical, and that can give you a hint that somebody has rewired it, besides the fact that like how they wired it, like how they twisted it and whatnot, isn't right. And like the gauze of the wire, number of wrap springs, like the twist rate. But one of the easiest ways is to look for where it terminates and how it terminates, and to tell if it was an old or not. So correct methodology doesn't mean for sure it's an original. It just means that whoever did it either was doing it originally or knew how they do it originally. But this sword had that done wrong. The grip wood type, I wasn't able to identify it by visuals, but the texture of it looked off, which I don't think it was like it looked very rough, and in a way that doesn't look like it was ever sanded down, which they did do. Which made me think, okay, maybe something's happened to it over the years that like fucked up with the texture of the wood, but to do so without undoing all the fluting of it doesn't make any sense, and without leaving marks. So it's more likely that whoever made it based off of the originals, but is not an original grip, and then they wired it incorrectly. And the pommel might be original, might not. The hilt definitely isn't, and was made incorrectly, and the blade's definitely fake. But the scabbard looks real. So it's like, there's all these little things adding up to be like, that's really fishy. Probably not an original. And then someone else was able to find a link to the same sword being posted many years ago, and people being like, hey, this is a fake, which was kind of funny. And the only difference is when they posted it, it had a shagreen, which is a type of leather made from usually ray skin or shark's skin or some other type of fish that has lots of little bumps on it that gives it like a sandpapery feel. And it's, tanned and all that, so that it's dry and not, covered in slime. And it has a very, like, papery feel to it. It's very dry, very thin, flexible to a degree. Strong in one direction, but you can tear it. Anywho, they dye it normally like a really dark blue, but over time it fades. And it had a little bit of it, but it was not a full coverage. That makes it fun. Not worth EXP for the time. I like it more than triple EXP. Taurus. Or Drapolian, or however you say that. Golbat. Sure. Let's see, Panpour, how much XP to give me? I do not remember. Your unevolved starter, if I remember correctly. 25. That's not great. It'd be what? 12 if I switched? I think switching, I'll get even more from Noctowl than 25. Anywho, even though it was a fake, it had a really, really nice hill. Even, wrong methodology, but it still looked nice. Probably end up in some reenactment somewhere. Because, like, even if it's not useful to collectors as an antique, it's useful to reenactors. And if they know it's not real, then they know they can take it outside and, get it all banged up and not care too much. 21, okay, not quite as much. There's one more level, it'd probably be more. 4 would probably beat it. Alrighty. Anyway, not that many other interesting sword IDs lately. Just lots of replicas, a few mass-produced military models that you see all the time. That one good fake was probably the most interesting one in weeks, months. Houndoom. Yeah, lots of EXP. Almost to 11. This is the rough part about nuzlocke, having to over-level everything just so you don't die. Some random legendary or, weird Pokemon with a crazy ability. Like Arena Trap Dugtrio when you're weak to ground. And slower, and you just can't do anything. You just get one shot to Magnitude or Earthquake. Yes. Yes. Finally. Alrighty. Let's see how you're doing. Want to move anything? Naive. Okay, plus speed. Is that negative special defense? And hasty plus speed. I think negative defense, right? Yeah. Defense is a bit low. Speed's pretty high. Fun. Alrighty. Let's see how good Twisted Dratini is. Sir. So it gets stab, it is a special attack. That's not bad. It's not great. 40 base power, so stab it'll be 60. But they're both speed base, more likely to hit first. Righty. I mean, no one-shotting everyone with Dragon Rage, but it's decent. It's two-shotting some Pokemon. I think we're ready to go fight. Let's heal up first. And I mean, probably Thundurus will just take them all out one shot. But, you never know. There are Pokemon that I want to prepare for, just in case. Dugong. Alrighty. Have we run into a Dugong before? Is this our first? What is your spawn rate? 1%? Less? Almost there. Ah, screw it. It's an ACOM. Who cares? Blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Ah, I'm gonna focus on it first. Okay, still on wheels. Is it leaving that they're like, yo, what's up? Let's battle? After we hear the speech from the new team, whatever the fuck's it called. Who cares? Rocket wannabes. Alright, let's see. I think you are the one who's just the normal stuff, and you are randomized for something? Okay, not useful. Not useful. Water gem. Max potion's cool. But, I have no idea. Oh, moonstone, moonstone. I thought it said wound. I'm like, what? Wound? Ah, I need to sleep more. Okay, not too useful. Let's get some Pokeballs. Have one potion already, right? If I buy 10, you're gonna give me a premiere? Probably not. Game? Are you okay, game? Not responding. It's frozen for a second. There it goes. Weird. I think it's supposed to be scripted to give me stuff, and it just didn't. Something with the randomizer going wrong. Blah, blah, blah. Don't care what you have to say, random old man. I think the only healing item I have this time is a potion that some random person gave me. I think one of these guys gives you a great ball. Hello, letter N. Ah, this is the battle. Okay, Hound Hour, probably level 7, not a problem. And then I think in a minute, one of those other guys is gonna want to fight me. Leaving the town, I think it was. Alrighty. Easy peasy, breezy, beautiful, cover girl. I want to say do this. Swagger has a risk to it, and that risk is not going to be that, makes it not that useful unless fighting special attackers, which means I have to know the special attackers, which means I need to know their movesets, and this is randomized, so it's going to be a lot more troubling to do, especially at higher levels. Swagger's a lot less safe, because you can't assume, like with your against human players, that they will make things like decisions on moves that make sense. The AI just does weird shit sometimes. Yeah, you're getting 13. I don't, oops, I hit wrong button. I get to Genie a little bit of experience. Where was the guy who gave me a Pokeball? you? No. Was it you? No. I don't think anything was in any of the trash cans. So the game randomizes what items are in what locations. It does not randomize where those locations are. The trash cans that have items will always have items. Trash cans that don't have items will always not have items. The only difference is what the item will be. It does randomize held items on Pokemon, so some items will or won't. Well, some Pokemon will or won't have them on different playthroughs. I didn't talk to you last time, did I? Whatever. You want me to listen to music, and I do not want to do that. Hello, old man. Nope, nothing. You? No. Who was it? It was in the next town. Ah, there you go. Oh, it's a Pokeball this time, not a Great Ball. Oh well. Such is life. Well, it is randomizing. Hello? Hello? Okay, and then... What is this? I don't want to talk to you. Running shoes, okay. I already have running shoes because there's an option to always be able to run. Because why do you need specific shoes to run? What world is this? To run barefoot. Alright, this is the first encounter on this area. We have Intimidate, it's Masquerin. Well, you can use Cut. You're immune to Earthquake. You can come in on like certain moves, I guess. Could be worse. I think Twister will not kill. Level up is level 7. You're already 3rd evolution. Sweet Scent doesn't really matter. Moves that have a chance of hitting will always have a chance of missing, no matter how many times you use Sweet Scent. And the chance of missing is usually fairly low, so it's, you know, oh, instead of a 95% hit rate, you have like a 98%, 99. Who cares? I'll say that. In some versions of Pokemon, the Pokeball and Premier Brawl have the same catch rate. In some versions, the Premier is a little bit better. I'm not certain which catch rate it's using after being randomized, what generation and all that. I probably read it somewhere and just forgot. Premier Ball makes the Pokemon happier once it's caught in it than a regular Pokeball. It raises happiness, which is useful for return and less useful if you want frustration. With our moves that do damage based on happiness levels. Also, some people will give you items based on happiness. Oh wait, I should have grabbed that Pokeball, whatever. Okay, Baroctrick is an ice Pokemon. I'm a dragon, I'm weak to ice. I need to switch out because I don't know his moveset. Sundress is also weak to ice, but he can probably one-shot the bear regardless. And Twister's probably a two-shot. Alright, good. Bye. Which makes Sundress a better counter. He also has better base stats. So if he does get hit, it's less devastating than Dratini, who is not yet evolved and is not a legendary. And I want to hear Masquerin. Alrighty. Pokemon. Let's take a look at you. Okay, Sweet Scent timid, minus attack plus speed, flying bug. Intimidate is useful. I should have you the first Pokemon. So quick attack is physical attack, and you are timid, so your negative attack nature, which is gonna make this weaker. Bubble special attack, 120 base power, and it's not stab, so it's gonna be weak as fuck. That's annoying. You are going to be not very good defensively and not very good offensively until you get better moves, but you can, I believe, get Quiver Dance with increased special defense, special attack, and speed, which is very useful. And things like Silver Wind, with our stab special attacks, you can get. What moves can you get? Let's look you up. And as an intimidator, you weaken your opponent's attack. This can be useful. Alright, Mass. Crane. Spelling hard. Pokemon, there we go. Alrighty. Base stats, not amazing. Let's see. Gen 5 move pool. Alright. Your moveset is going to suck for quite a while. You can get Ominous Wind, and yet you don't have Ominous Wind. God damn it. Well, if I can get to a move tutor, I can get rid of one of these two for Ominous Wind. But it's probably later in the game. Gust at level 22, that's going to be a long time. Silver Wind at level 40, Air Slash at level 47, Buzz at level 61, Quiver Dance at 68. Long time waiting for Quiver Dance. There is no way I'm going to be using him by that level. Well, you're probably not going to be in my party that long to get good. There is a black and white Signal Beam move tutor. That could be useful. Tailwind could be useful. Bug Bite's physical. Giga Drain is great. Not gonna get any breeding moves or prior evolution moves. Yeah. And you're a flying type, so you are not great up against bear. Well, Masquerin has potential with moves that he's never going to get because I'm never going to use him that long. Powder Snow is weak, but it has stab. And it is super effective. It'll crit too. Damn. Let's see how well T-Bolt does against you. Will it one-shot? It will. Ooh. So, despite being weaker against ice, you can still come in. That's sort of my problem. Everything I have is weak against ice. Which is a problem. Alright. Well, Bubble would be super effective. Ghost Ground. Thunderous would not be able to touch him, really, other than, well, Bite and Astonis. But without Bite and Astonis, he'd be in real big trouble. Or especially his evolved form, which can hit a lot harder. But thankfully he keeps using ground moves. Might not even have anything. Okay, it's Astonis. This is weak, but it's stab for him. Alright. Hello, trainer. Way better way of getting XP from Masquerin. So you can at least come in and intimidate stuff. Okay, if I remember right, Spirit is a psychic type. And you're not very powerful. You have to probably switch out to Thunderous and use Bite. Yes. Masquerin resist the bug type psychic moves. I believe he does. I think. Bite will be super effective, but it's a physical attack, which isn't Thunder's specialty, but it doesn't matter. And you're the guy who's telling me you can jump over ledges, so I don't need to talk to you. I already know that. Let's see, it's 15th of January. What's going on? I think tomorrow we get a new episode of Freerun. Hype. Today there's a new episode of Jujutsu Kaisen. Hype. Alrighty. So Skarmory is essentially a wall, physical wall. Probably has flying moves. This is going to be super effective against Masquerain by weak to its attacks, the physical attack, and a special attacker. Twister is going to resist the steel type. Sundress is probably the better option. As a electric type, super effective, resistant to flying moves, and is resistant to steel moves as an electric type. So it'd give decent XP. 30. Ooh, I really wish I got you instead of this stupid bug. It would have solved my. It would have solved the. Well, he's not weak to ice. He's neutral to ice, and Sundress is resistant to electricity. Oh, well, it would normally be. It's neutral because it's also flying type. Dratini is resistant to electricity, so that would help with the problem of like anti-flying stuff being fairly effective against my team. Absol would also be pretty cool. Glass cannon, but it can come in on psychic attacks. Nothing has good against it. I don't know what moves it has. Probably has bite. For Dratini, it has a good attack, but it's not. It's level 4. It might be only have like tackle or something. It's gonna give good EXP. And I don't want to over level Thunderous before I beat the gym leader. Scratch, yeah. And I do want Dratini to get Dragon Rage, so let's get to the next town and then save. What do you got? Dugong. Okay, so Dugong's a bit worrying. If you have Ice Beam, or, well, you're not gonna have Ice Beam. You might have Aurora Beam, or probably more likely Icy Wind. You don't have anything good. Have to go to Sundress. Dratini is very low level, very low base stats. Twister's probably gonna be a 2-shot, not 1-shot. T-Bolt should 1-shot him. Thankfully he's Growl. Alright. Ice Wind lowers speed. Sundress has enough speed, could probably still outspeed after one Icy Wind, but the second Icy Wind would be a problem. Might be slower than Dugong after the second one. But Dratini would probably be slower after the first one. Well, chance. Are you negative or positive speed nature for the Dugong? Oops. I'm positive speed nature, so they probably have speed. Probably. EVs, not many, but the AI will also have 0 EVs. So that's not a factor. IVs will be a factor, but at this level it's only different in like 1 or 2 points. Alright, Meryl, quick attack is probably the best option. I could kill you with your Teeny. I think I'll do that. All the water attacks have been now very effective against Ratini, and level difference, physical, tackle, whatever, is not going to really matter. And now that I have Twister, I can actually kill things. Yay! Look at this run. But Dratini could use XP, Masculine could use XP. Alrighty. Pokemon, Dratini. Steam. Stop giving me pop-ups. I'm busy. And Twister got it done. Mask me at the level 10. No moves. Ah, 3 Pokemon. Alright, I'm just gonna run. Meryl doesn't give good EXP. Anyway, I think Mask's main value is as an intimidate user. That's a lot of grass. I got away with it. Waha, Molly, okay. Steel type. Intimidate, not gonna work on Hyper Cutter. At the flying Twister will be not very effective. I guess Uproar will not be very effective. The water attack from you will be neutral. I think T-Bolt is neutral. I can't remember if Molly is pure steel or not. I don't remember. Okay, it's neutral. And then that's the tree I can someday cut. Trainer, hello, I want to fight you. You're a jerk. Bianca, I just went through all those other trainers. And if I wasn't over leveled, that might have been a problem. A Kyogre. This is why I'm over leveled. This guy might be able to really fuck me up with a stab water move. Dratini resisted. He probably doesn't have any ice attacks, but Twister might be a 3-shot, probably a 2. Thunderous might almost positively can one-shot. I'm going to, and I'm definitely faster. Okay, Water Pulse will do decent damage because it's in the rain, and it's stab, and it's Makai. Oh, confusing. Fuck. Thunder Shock is a one-shot if I can get it off, and I got it off. Okay. Scary. Confusion is scary. Kyogre is scary, but thankfully, completely random. Okay, Genesect. Dude. Okay, Masquerain, lower your attack with Intimidate. Attack rose, Intimidate, attack went down. Screw you. Alright, you will resist quick attack. It's a Bug Steel. Bubble will be neutral. But I probably don't want to... fuck it. Let's see what you got. You got Metal Claw, not very... oh, it is effective. It'll be not very effective against Thunderous if you use Metal Claw again. Let's see what else you have. I'm not too concerned if I... okay, Fury Cutter. Bug type will be not very effective against Thunderous as well. Twister is not very effective against Steel types. Wrap is also not very effective against Steel types. So just fight... I think Thunderous is the best bet. Screech lowers my defense, not great. But Thunder Socks would be neutral. Uproar is not very effective, but doesn't matter. T-Bolt for the win. Or T-Shock. Potato, potato. And despite having an amazing, amazing lineup, Bianca defeated. Yeah, got to the next gym. First gym. Next town. You can see what items they have, and I think call it a day. If I get this uploaded. Let's see, what do you have to say? Not useful, what do you have to say? Same shit, different shop. Alright. Oh, it's a lucky egg! Yes! Alright, lucky egg increases EXP gain. That is so lucky for me. Hello game, there it goes. Weakens super effective water types. That could be very useful for depending on what Pokemon I have, although I currently don't have anything. Heat Rock could be useful in certain Pokemon, like if I get a Groudon. Less useful. But the Lucky Egg is just amazing. Alrighty. Give. What is Wise Glasses? When did I get those? What are. Huh. So, that significantly increased experience gain from the Pokemon. That is very lucky. Third time's the charm. I got lucky. Yeah. So, I think this is a good place to end. We have. Okay, you kind of suck, but Dashinium Sunris, very, very good. With these two alone, I could probably sweep the whole game. Assuming I don't run into any really bad luck and get, like, Waba Fetted or something. Or hit by, like, something with Explosion in one shot. Or, bad luck in general. I think this is a great place to stop it. And I'll have another episode in a day or two. Find out what happens in the future. Can we win the gym or not? Who knows? But in the meantime, go subscribe to my buddy Melk because he could really use the help. To be continued.